What's up, everybody? Chris and Rob here of the Jersey Comic Crew, and today we are breaking down both after-credit scenes of the Eternals. A lot of big stuff happened in the MCU going forward, Rob, so I'm very excited to detail this stuff.
So some might say the best moments of the Eternals movie were the after-credit scene. I'm not here to agree or disagree. I just want to talk about the after-credit scenes because it's going to set up Marvel for the future. The first one focuses on Thena, Makari, and Druig. They're in space looking for other Eternals to reveal the dark secret that they have found out. That the Eternals were made by Celestials to go to planets, inhabit them, raise the population just to born other Celestials to rinse and repeat. On the spaceship, while they're all hanging out, they hear a noise down the corridor, and up comes two weird characters. One is a little troll, Pip, played by Patton Oswalt, and then we get another guy who introduces himself as Thanos' brother. So, of course, myself and the whole audience was abuzz. They're bringing Eros in, a character I didn't think they would introduce in the MCU because he's not really that big, but still expanding on the Thanos mythos and all that kind of stuff was definitely very cool to see. And I'm assuming in the next Eternals movie, we're going to get the background and history of Thanos and of Eros.
Yeah, it was a rumor that was in the background while Eternals was being made that, you know, Harry Styles might be playing Eros. Yeah. But it was so, to me, far-fetched and weird. And, you know, the direction that they took it, the one direction that they took it, it was kind of something I ignored.
Yeah,
I was like, I like, whatever. Yeah, but bringing Eros in, the first thing in this after-credit scene, which I thought was interesting, is when they pop in, to me, it almost looked like when Hemdale sends someone through the Rainbow Bridge.
Oh, it kind of did. I see what you're saying.
Because when Pip kind of blips into existence with his, like, drunken stupor, I was like, oh, it's a troll. Is this, like, are we going to see Thor? Like, is Thor coming to, like, warn them of something or ask, you know, because who would know about the Eternals besides the gods of Asgard?
Yeah.
But it wasn't. So Eros is, yes, Thanos' brother. He is kind of the god of love and sex and innuendo.
He's a pig. I'm surprised Marvel is bringing a pig into the universe. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Don't sugarcoat it, Chris.
There's no way Disney is going to go that far deep into it.
No, they're going to...
To me, it was like they went into like the marketing meeting and they were like, okay, we need way more 15 and 16-year-olds watching these Marvel movies. Who are we bringing in?
Harry
and it was
Styles.
like Harry Styles.
Sure.
So yeah, it seems like what's going to be interesting though, Rob, going forward in the MCU. The first thing I noticed about Eros, he had the same sphere that Ajax and later on Cersei had that contacts and allows communication with Celestials. Now, we know Arishem was the main Celestial in this movie, but there are other Celestials.
Correct.
So I think the biggest question with Eros, besides, you know, why he's trying to find other Eternals himself and help them and also kind of hit on his cousin Thena when he showed up, really awkward, is who is the Celestial that he's contacted to, and does that Celestial have the same views as Arishem, or is it a Celestial with opposing views that's like, hey, leave the Earthlings alone, like there's enough of us already, we don't need any more, because there is a council which we kind of saw hints of in Loki, that connects to this as well.
The only other option that I can see for Eros, aside from being like this other contact with the Eternals, trying to save everybody, I can see him being played as like a double agent, like a villain almost. Because normally Arishem, he's the one that judges the planets. Like in the comics, each Celestial has a role. One creates the Earth, one fills it with air, does all this kind of stuff to make this habit inhabitable, right? And he judges it. What if this one is like he's like a secret agent? It's like, oh, they broke away. Time to send Eros in to kind of smooth talk everybody, make them all fall in love with him, blindly trust him, and that's how they work the womanizer, the suavemente, if you will, aspect of him into the Eternals movies, and he just plays the Eternals, gets us to believe it, and he turns out to be like an agent of Arishem and just tries to kill them and reset them. Well, that could be a cool angle.
That could absolutely be an angle, and the only other connection to that would be this. The last scene of the film, to me, felt like an after-credit scene itself. To me, it's almost like 3 after-credit scenes. So that scene is when Arishem kind of shows up, takes Cersei away through like a black hole.
Yes.
And he says that you chose to save the people of Earth over a new Celestial. You know, we're going to judge this. I'm going to take all your memories and judge if the Earth is worthy of being saved, and I will make my final judgment later on, and we'll return to make our judgment. That to me is two things. That to me is a big hint towards something Galactus-y. Number one, because Galactus, along with his heralds, mostly it's Silver Surfer, judge worlds to be consumed by Galactus.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side is, does this saving Earth and not having the Celestial Born cause the Celestials to feel something they never had before, which is this hunger, which they need to consume these worlds and rebirth new Celestials in order to kind of sustain themselves?
It might be that the Celestials are doing this to birth new ones, and if the planet survives and it doesn't get it, which is probably few and far between, that maybe sends a beacon to Galactus senses the energy, and then he goes and hunts for it. Because we know in the comics, Galactus has 5 worlds in particular that he will not destroy unless absolutely necessary, because they're going to give him super power-ups in case he needs them, right? And I think Earth is one of them. So maybe this, he senses it. He's like, oh, I have to go there. I need to eat this. This is just drawing too much attention to him. And maybe before, Galactus is in his own little cell almost, or pocket of the universe, and the celestial beings don't get any of these planets get big enough to raise his appetite, but now that they let Earth live, they forgot, and he's gonna come and chase them down.
And it's like a dinner bell calling.
Exactly.
And some of those measures might have been taken off the board already, right? Ego the Living Planet was a celestial, not in the form that we see in Eternals, but he was celestial. Could Ego's original purpose be, hey, when Galactus comes calling to eat me, haha, I'm alive, I have powers, I'm gonna stop that, right? Nowhere in Guardians was also a celestial. It's the head of a celestial. Could that have been something else? And could Eros himself be the one who that sphere connects to Galactus himself? Could Eros right now be the herald of Galactus? As you were saying, he could be there to as a faint character, and maybe trying to resurrect his brother Thanos in a way too, which I kind of hope they don't go down.
I really hope they don't do that. It's too much emphasis on Thanos. But moving on to the second after credit scene, and it's probably my favorite scene in the whole Eternals movie and after credit scene. Dane Whitman, the whole time in the Eternals movie, has been hinting that he has some magical lineage. Cersei even mentions, hey, go talk to your uncle. And those of you guys that don't know in the audience are like, oh, his uncle? What are you talking about? Turns out he goes there and he sees the ebony blade, the black sword, and you see the magical evil encryption above it, and he goes to touch it, and before he could do that, you hear a voice saying, are you sure you want to do that, Mr. Whitman? Now, before I even get into the voice, right?
Yes.
Quick 2-second history on this character. We're gonna do another video down the line. His family lineage is the Black Knight. His great ancestor was the Black Knight for King Arthur's Round Table. Yep. You heard the Eternals mention Arthur and mention the Ebony Blade. So these small little hints here and there.
And Excalibur.
They had Excalibur. They were playing with Excalibur, right? So it's all there. And now the sword, the magical ability has, as you get stronger, the sword is going to corrupt you more and more, essentially turning you more towards darkness. Now, Chris, the voice at the end, we got confirmation of who that character is.
Yes, it is definitely Mahershala Ali as Blade talking to Dane Whitman. Someone, where I was watching the movie, someone said, oh, it's Nick Fury, which just angered me to no end.
I thought it was.
After 40 years, does no one know how Samuel Jackson sounds? He screams and yells. He sounds like he's always upset. To me, I was dead on that was already the emergence of Jeffrey Wright's Wow to the Watcher in the MCU, which Rob and I have been talking about for months already.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, it's the Watcher. He's already interfering after that. And we're getting a canon thing and, interdimensional stuff. But no, it was actually Mahershala Ali as Blade, apparently doing his best Jeffrey Wright impression, because it sounded just freaking like him. But yeah, so with the connection with Blade, which a lot of people are like, well, if it's Blade and not the Watcher, how does that kind of connect? Connects in a big bad way.
Yeah.
So as Rob was talking about, the Ebony Blade is in the lineage of Dane Whitman's family. He becomes the Black Knight. The sword, as you saw, kind of had its own like a soul or a mind of its own. As he goes to almost touch it, as Blade, stops him, it kind of attracts to his finger. That sword, like Rob said, the more you use it, the more blood is shed with it.
Yes.
It makes you go mad. So the seal that is written in Latin over the sword translates to "death is my reward," which kind of hints at that, the more you kill people, what is your reward? You go insane, you get more powerful, but you go insane. But in the comics, Rob, as you and I love to delve into from time to time, there is a direct connection between that Blade and Dracula, which we all know is a huge villain to Blade himself.
Yes.
Don't really know where Dracula's going to play a part. I don't know if there's universal ties because it's Bram Stoker's Dracula and that whole monster universe, but Dane Whitman had the Blade and realized it was a fake made by Dracula.
In the comics, yes.
In the comics. Blade kind of reveals that it's a fake, and when Dane Whitman gets it back, he uses it to help Blade take down vampires, but also to help kill Skrulls in Secret Invasion, which we know is going to be a major Disney Plus series. So my guess is we will see Dane Whitman again in Secret Invasion and somewhat in the Blade movie, depending on how far they could go with that Dracula character.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about, which I'm glad you didn't touch upon this. So Blade and the Black Knight, what is their connection? So immediately you start thinking, all right, Black Knight, Blade, you're thinking monsters, you're thinking darkness. Is there a superhero team that might have been there? Yes, there was. So they were on a team called the Midnight Suns, right?
Yes.
So on this team, and this is kind of the dark avenue that Marvel has been developing slowly but surely. On this team are crazy cool characters. Those two. Moon Knight, which we know Moon Knight's coming out.
And also crazy.
And also crazy. We have Doctor Strange, who's mad and crazy. He kind of leads the team for a while. Yep. You have Hellstrom, which they talked about making a Disney Plus, a Hulu series. I don't know what happened with that.
It came out and got canceled. It had one season, about like 10 episodes. It didn't do well on Hulu.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, now they're like, all right, everything on Hulu just bring to Disney Plus, and you're gonna skyrocket, right?
Yeah.
And Hellstrom is dark connections with darkness and demons and stuff like that. Ghost Rider is on this team. So this whole team, this magical demon team that are going to be taking things, I can see them slowly but surely forming that team to handle all the dark, creepy stuff in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that way it's like, oh, there's Dracula and vampires and monsters. Cool. They're going to be handling that. Also, Morbius is on that team, which maybe Morbius from the Spider-Verse comes into there on that team. Who knows? Who's to say? But Marvel is kind of doing this job of creating this widespread universe, which we thought we had before, but it's not. It's even wider in scale because you're going to have a team that deals with outer space stuff, with Sword, with the Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain Marvel, and the Eternals maybe. We'll see what that is all going to be. Then you have the ground team of the regular Avengers that everybody's going to know. The Dark Avengers, which is going to be being built in the shadows, doing like all these blackout missions. And now maybe the Midnight Suns dealing with the darkness and magic led by Doctor Strange. All these different avenues of the comic book world from the pages that we read every day are going to be brought to the main screen, whether movies or TV shows. And it's going to be really cool to see. I need you guys to have some patience. It's going to be epic. Now, I don't know when Dane Whitman, the Black Knight's going to make an appearance again. It might be like Chris said in Super Skrulls. It might be in Moon Knight. It might be in Blade. I can see all these different avenues popping off. It really just depends what direction they choose, Marvel. And they have so many options available.
Well, they do. And the other connections are this. Now they're bringing the swords in, which has its own connotation to Marvel. So to add upon that great point you made about Midnight Suns, we're getting Gore the God Butcher in Thor Love and Thunder. He has the Black Necro Sword, which is the sword that apparently in the comics killed the Celestial Nowhere, which that head is floating in space, which we've seen in Guardians. We also know that Venom is now over in, the MCU after the end credit scenes of Venom 2. Null is a big character that's been blowing up in Venom. Donny Cates run. Rob and I did a video on that. Could that be the next one? He has his own sword that has huge ties to Celestial Comics, to space, to the dark realm corner of Marvel with, Blade's a big character in there. We see Black Knight in the giant King in Black series come back. All these kind of magical artifacts are starting to pop up. You got to think we're going to see the Necro Sword in Thor 4 with Gore.
Yeah.
So could that be also another connection? While we're getting this Blade hint here, could we see Dane Whitman kind of maybe pop up? Maybe he's in one of the after credit scenes of Thor. Maybe he's popping up here, and maybe he's kind of that recurring character that starts showing up, and that's the connection from this kind of Celestial because he knows he's in love with Cersei, right? the Eternals are these extra godlike beings. Is Dane Whitman the human connection that connects the space gods with what's going on Earth with some of the Earth heroes? That would be really cool.
It very well could be. I mean, guys, there's so many different avenues that the MCU could go for. We want to know your thoughts down in the comments below after watching this movie, seeing these two after credit scenes, and hearing our crazy theories. Let us know down below what do you think is going to be happening.
And guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, like, it really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Rob and I have conversations like this all the time. You don't want to miss any of them. And as always, if you missed any videos, they are here on the channel for you at all times. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That is Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.